He wasn't scared at all, and he couldn't help but burst into laughter. Laughter echoed on both sides of the cliffs and lingered for a long time. Soon the pebbles below turned into green grass, the terrain became flat, and the small lake became very large, with fine ripples visible on its surface. Ivisa landed him by the lake. Go wherever you want, do whatever you want, but don't say anything like I don't really want to, or you'd better watch out next time, Ivisa said, looking at the lake. Perseus stared at her blankly. There's no need, Ivisa glanced at him. It was just a small favor for me. Don't get all emotional. That would be disgusting. Miss Ivisa, the lake water is so clear, just like I imagined when I was a child. It's so quiet here. There's no one else here but us. What you just said has given me a lot of inspiration. I really want to do something now, but I don't know if you would agree. You go first. Ivisa looked at him cautiously. You agree first. You go first. I told you you're not allowed to hit me. No. Real. I want to take a bath here with you. As soon as he finished speaking, Perseus flew out like a cannonball, tracing a perfect parabola before landing in the center of the lake. I knew this would happen. Perseus reacted mid-air and calmly activated his magic. Compliance level -49. Current compliance level 0. Magic? It's unusable. Perseus's expression changed. I can't swim. Glug. Perseus thrashed about in the middle of the lake, utterly desperate. What a pretentious act. Ivisa sneered. Then she realized that something seemed wrong. Perseus has already begun to sink to the bottom of the water. In an instant, Ivisa burst forward, breaking through the water's surface, and pulled Perseus out of the water. His belly had swelled up considerably, and his face was completely drained of color. He was just one breath away from drowning. Is it really necessary to go to such lengths to pretend? Ivisa frowned. Perseus was on the verge of tears. Baby, I was wrong. Snort. Obedience +49. Current compliance level 49. Ivisa looked at herself. She had splashed water all over herself in her haste, and her clothes were completely soaked. Fortunately, she was wearing thick clothes, so even if they got wet, she wouldn't be exposed. Looking at Perseus's pitiful face, she smiled and said, Since we're already like this, why don't we go into the water and have some fun? Huh? No way. You shouldn't have teased me like that, Goo. Ivisa dragged him to the bottom of the lake. Fortunately, obedience has returned, and so has magic. Now Perseus no longer needs to worry about drowning, because he can breathe underwater like a fish. Perseus looked at Ivisa in front of him. Her long white hair swayed freely in the water like seaweed, and her face was uniformly white in the dim underwater environment, without any distinction between light and shadow. Although she looked a bit like a water ghost, she also had a unique beauty. Is it fun? Ivisa asked. It's fun. Perseus looked up at the halo above, which was the sun reflected on the water. From this perspective, everything is very fresh and interesting. Many small fish swam past them, and when Perseus reached out to catch them, they nimbly swam away from his hand. How stupid. Ivisa reached out and caught all the fish that had been swimming far away. Can you grill fish underwater? Perseus asked. Ivisa didn't speak. A flash of fire appeared in her hand, and the small fish in her hand instantly turned into a lump of charcoal. It's difficult to control the heat underwater, she casually retorted. So cute. Honey, I suddenly have another thing I want to do. You wouldn't. Perseus put his arm around her waist and kissed her lips. Ivia paused briefly, then slowly closed her eyes. She thought he wanted to do that. That's all. Chapter 1:18 Things are not what they used to be. Although he really wanted to spend more time with Ivisa, he couldn't completely relax because Winnie and Katie were still at home. After getting ashore, they used fire magic to dry their clothes and then headed back. The return journey was much faster than the journey there, and in no time, the two were back at the castle. Then Perseus discovered that his entire family had gathered together. Gade is back. Gade looked much better than when they last met. Although he had been dealt a heavy blow that time, it seemed that the bastard had recovered after so much time had passed. However, compared to the beginning, his temperament has changed significantly, becoming much more composed. Gade had obviously just arrived home. Talk and Gina hurriedly came out to greet them with Alan. The Talk couple genuinely liked Gade, constantly showering him with care and concern, their affection evident in their words. Alan, who was standing next to his parents and brothers, kept pouting and his eyes were fixed on a certain window. That's Winnie's room. Winnie hadn't gotten up yet. Perseus tormented her all night. using light magic 7 or 8 times before finally letting her go at dawn. Completely satisfied, Winnie fell asleep, exhausted, and this was the soundest part of her sleep. The Torques and Alan assumed she was just tired from her long journey and didn't think much of it. To show their tolerance and understanding, they even told Perseus to sleep peacefully and not to disturb her. Perseus certainly wouldn't bother her. He felt nauseous just looking at Winnie. This symptom will likely persist until at least tonight. Perseus and Ivisa had been standing there for quite some time before the others, engrossed in their own affairs, noticed their return. The moment Gade saw him, his previously smiling face turned deathly pale, as if he had seen a ghost. Perseus, what are you standing there for? Can't you see your second brother is back? Hurry up and greet him. Gina urged impatiently. Second brother. Perseus walked over, smiling and bowing. Gade was caught between a smile and a silence, completely unsure how to react, and his body began to tremble. Gina noticed Gade's unusual behavior and quickly asked with concern, Gade, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? No, mother, you don't need to worry, I'm fine, Gade smiled. You call this okay? Let your father see. Talk looked Gade over. Could it be that he suddenly has a fever? Alan, go get a doctor right away. Alan touched Gade's forehead with the back of his hand. No fever. Everything is normal. What do you know? You're not a doctor. You're not told to go just because you're told to. Talk's face darkened. Although reluctant, Alan dared not disobey his father's orders and had no choice but to set off. No, father, I'm really fine. Gilly insisted. Brother, there's no need to trouble you. You can go ahead and do your work. Upon hearing what Gade said to him, Alan's eyes widened in surprise. This guy is actually being so polite to him. From the day Gade began to display his magical talent, his older brother became nothing more than a figurehead to Gade. This guy didn't take him seriously at all and was always full of contempt and ridicule. This time, the way he called me big brother was truly heartfelt. Alan felt uneasy and couldn't help but look at him strangely. Gade, you don't actually have some kind of problem, do you? Gade smiled and shook his head. Alan stared at him dumbfounded. Even Gina couldn't stand his idiotic behavior anymore. She grabbed Gade's hand and led him into the castle. I need to talk to Gade. Alan, Perseus, you two help him move his luggage to his room. Talk also showed special care for Gade and quickly followed after him. Watching the three figures walk away, Alan sneered. So this is how it turned out? I actually thought you'd changed your ways. Despite the change in his demeanor, Gade's luggage remained unchanged, consisting of 4 suitcases, just like when he went to the capital. Alan didn't even glance at the boxes. Perseus, I'll leave this little matter to you. I'm going to take a walk around town. Staying at home and seeing that guy makes me angry. Understood, brother. Yes, you really are my good little brother. Alan left, feeling smug and triumphant. After he walked away, Ivisa asked, why are you still so hard-working and dutiful despite how they treat you? It's always been like this. I'm used to it. Anyway, it's the last few days, so let's just leave it at that. Perseus chuckled. But I don't like it this way, she said. Perseus raised an eyebrow. Feeling sorry for me? No, it's just I'm not feeling well, Ivisa said calmly. You are, after all, my master, and I don't want them to treat you like this anymore. So what are you planning to do? I'm not going to do anything. I'll let you do it yourself. Then what do you want me to do? Whatever you want. Aren't you full of clever ideas? There's only one requirement. Teach them a lesson so they'll never dare to look down on you again. This is troublesome. I might as well just kill them. All right. Perseus didn't know what to say, but he just couldn't help but laugh. He wouldn't have minded these guys continuing to act arrogantly towards him, but since Miss Ivisa had spoken, he couldn't let her down. Give me a kiss, and I'll teach them a lesson. Perseus pointed to his cheek, but Ivisa kissed his lips. If you can't satisfy me, don't even think about me kissing you again. After uttering those harsh words, Ivisa turned away with a cold expression. Perseus sighed helplessly. There was really nothing he could do. There's nothing I can do about it. After delivering the luggage, Perseus went to Winnie's room, woke her up, and then made her fall back asleep. He really overestimated himself. Katie, as always, watched the whole thing without saying a word. Then Perseus removed the scent from his body and went to Ivisa's room to harass her while trying to teach his parents and brothers a lesson. This is really frustrating. I've thought about it for ages and still can't come up with a single clue. I had no choice but to keep thinking about it. Meanwhile, in talk study, the talk couple continued to inquire about Gade's well-being before getting down to business, asking about Gade's experiences in the capital over the past 6 months. Of course, Gade only reported the good news and not the bad, and spoke eloquently about his wonderful story, which made the Talks nod repeatedly, their smiles growing wider and wider. Gade, you really haven't disappointed us. You've managed to make the acquaintance of so many sons of high-ranking officials and nobles, Gina exclaimed. At this rate, the revival of the Perrin family is in sight. Gade's smile vanished instantly. After a moment of silence, he chuckled self-deprecatingly. Actually, our family has already been revived. Why do you say that? Could it be that you're keeping some surprise for us? Gina's eyes lit up. Father, mother, don't you know? Gade asked in surprise. Know what? Talk asked, puzzled. Didn't Perseus tell you? Perseus? What can he tell us? He's just a good-for-nothing troublemaker. But don't worry, I'll get rid of him in a few days. Gade gave a wry smile. If I told you he was having an affair with Duchess Romanthal, would you still kick him out? The Duchess of Romanthal? Gina suddenly exclaimed excitedly. The Lamanter family is one of the most prestigious and influential families in the Empire. I heard that the current Duke of Lamanter is a girl. Yes, her name is Helen. She's a very beautiful girl, and she's Perseus's girlfriend now. How was that possible? Took Fronet. How could someone like him possibly be interested in him? Could it be that this Duchess has some other purpose? Gade shook his head. I thought so too, but after something happened, I realized she was serious. She really likes Perseus. What's up? Gade's face turned pale again, and he lowered his head. Gina was stunned, then shocked and angry. No wonder you seemed uncomfortable whenever you saw Perseus. Did he and that Duchess bully you? Mother, keep your voice down. Gade glared at her angrily, his face filled with terror. Gina was confused by the stare and looked at Talk with a puzzled expression. Took Fronet. Gade, what exactly happened between you two? You don't need to hide it from me and your mother. This is your home. With us here, no one can harm you. No one has ever wronged me. I'm just unlucky, Gade said expressionlessly. Anyway, I have no grudge against Perseus, so please don't question him. If the Duchess finds out. So, they were just bullying you, weren't they? Gina roared in fury. No, I said no. Gade was even angrier. I've already made myself perfectly clear. What more do you want me to say? Gade, how could you speak to your mother like that? I was just worried about you. Gade scratched his hair in frustration. I'm not telling you this, so you'll overthink things and speculate about things that don't even exist. I just want to say that Perseus is not what he used to be. He's climbed the social ladder. With just one word from him, the Perrin family can live the good life we used to have. That's the most important thing. Talk paused for a moment, then said, if the Duchess really likes him, then indeed, helping us reclaim Eagle Peak City is not a problem at all. Gina was shocked. Oh my God, are you serious? Did I hear that right? Eagle Peak City. Don't make a fuss. It's embarrassing. Took Fronet. The most important thing now is to get Perseus to plead for us. Isn't that simple? He's our son. We can make him do whatever we want with just a word. Nonsense. Didn't you hear he's changed for the better? Whose son does he need to be now? But his attitude towards us is no different than before. He's still as obedient as ever. I think that's the scariest part, Talk said gravely. We all know how we've treated him all these years. With his current power, he doesn't need to be subservient to us anymore. Yet he's still the same. There must be something else going on here. All three of them fell silent. We need to change our approach to him. Talk said very seriously. Chapter 119 Ultimatum. Perseus was playing a game with Ivisa in the room when there was a knock on the door. Perseus was very annoyed when his enthusiasm and the atmosphere were interrupted. After helping Ivisa get dressed and tidying himself up, Perseus went to open the door. Talk and Gina were both outside the door. Gade was there too, but he stood in the corner, only glancing at him before turning away. With just one glance, Perseus roughly knew what was going on. Packy, do you have time? Talk asked. Parky is a nickname for Perseus, given to him by Gina's mother, his maternal grandmother. No one in the family uses it. They all call him Perseus. Hearing his nickname suddenly spoken by Talk, he felt as if he were dreaming. Father, is something the matter? Perseus asked. Or do you want to discuss my separation from the family with mother?